Guitar Junkies, a warm welcome. This is Marcus Deml. Last week I had the pleasure to travel back to the 80s. Yes, I had a session where the client asked me to perform in a typical 80s guitar style. So today I would like to share with you what I did to the guitar, what I did to the amplifier, and what kind of pedals and effects were used to create this big mid-80s sound. Enjoy! Whenever I do sessions, I ask for reference points and reference players, and he mentioned the names Steve Lukather, Warren DeMartini, George Lynch, Eddie Van Halen, you know, the greats of the 80s. And I obeyed, and I went all the way. It started with the tools, because the tools always inspire me to make a certain kind of noise, you know? So I pulled out my San Dimas sparkling orange Chevelle, very subtle guitar, and if you know me, every guitar that I have is modded, you know? This one started out as a 2-humbucker model with no pickguard. I put in a different Seymour Duncan. It's a JB, but it's from a different year and it sounded different. I was playing with the Floyd Rose for a while, and I decided I just cannot stand fine tuners anymore. So I bought a non-fine tuner Floyd Rose. Yes, and because I thought it sounded kind of thin, I put the biggest block that you know, can get with money, and that really helped. And what also improved the sound of the guitar was the removal of the locking nut, which you know, I had to fill it with some maple. I put some Spurzl locking tuners on there, and tuning is very, very good, but with the combination of the non-fine tuner Floyd with the big block and no locking nut, the guitar seems to just sound better. It just sounds better to me. I used a 100 watt plexi, the 1959, turned everything to 10 except the bass, but I couldn't quite get the sweet sound. You know, the amp was throwing up and stuff. So I sort of modified the amplifier by pulling the outside tubes, the power amp tubes, the EL34s. So that reduces the power to only 50 watts, right? But even more important than that, the amp sounds a bit sweeter. It compresses a little bit earlier. The most important tool was the VariSucker by Red Stuff Amplification, which is a power attenuator. So I could dial in the sweet spot for the sound. I started using this just recently. It's a very nice unit. It's small, fits on your pedal board. You can, you know, turn up your Marshall and still rehearse, and you still have friends, etc. You can, you know, get a 50 watt amp to 5 watts or 7.5 watts, which is amazing. So why do I use the VariSucker for recording? Well, since I use vintage 30's, a 4x12 mic'd, they do their famous octave thing. Sometimes you even get a fifth if you turn up the Marshall too loud. So I can just, you know, turn everything on 10 on the Marshall, except the bass, and dial in the sweet spot with the VariSucker. So that's a very important tool for me. I used the Sweet Elephant just to finalize, you know, with the gain to 0. It just compresses a little bit, you know, rounds off the edges, and that's it. I used some, of course I used delay and reverb, but that was it with the sound. Another thing, I had to lighten up on the pick. I used a Dunlop 88mm, not a Marcus Deml signature pick, which is usually a heavy or extra heavy. So this is between medium and heavy, and the material is different. And I found that with this gainy sound, the lighter pick worked a little bit better. I hope you enjoyed this 80s episode. I'm glad I returned, and well, I see you next time. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. This was Marcus Deml. Peace out!